Hi, everybody. I give my best speeches when I'm not prepared. So today, when I was having coffee, I wrote down my cheat sheet on a piece of paper. I'm going to spend 2 minutes to talk about myself and my company, and then we'll get into the presentation. So I've been in game industry for 29 years. Next year is going to be 30 years. And I started the industry being a programmer. My background is computer science. I worked on John Madden football at Electronic Arts from 91 to 94. I worked on Street Fighters as a programmer and a producer. I worked on Test Drive. And then I started my own business that got acquired by Shanda, and I moved to China. And I ran the R&D of 460 people. I ran the biggest game industry R&D in all of China. And after that, I ran my own studio for 8 years. And recently, I joined iDreamSky as VP of Business Development. So I have experience in the tech, in the programming. I can be CTO for just about any game company on earth. And I've had over 20 years of production experience, so I can be a studio head for any company. And right now I'm doing business development. So I have a wider range of understanding for our industry. And I believe, so with that in mind, my philosophy in doing business development is simple. It's one sentence. How can I help you? Most of the people in this industry right now is, well, my company is the largest, blah, blah, blah. We make the best game, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know, when I get that, I really don't know how to help them, how to interact with them. And the reason I'm starting with that, letting you know that, is because Chinese market is very complicated. It really is very complicated. In case you didn't know already, the jailbroken market is very big in China. And Google Play doesn't work in China. Instead, we have 300 marketplaces, and they're all different in their own ways. And we have about 50 payment gateways. We don't need more payment gateways in China. So, why am I here, and what do I do? I bring Western games. Well, I bring games from outside of China into China. And who are the companies I talk to? I talk to Activision for Call of Duty. I talk to Supercell. I talk to King.com. Because the era of sticking something at the wall and see what sticks is gone. It's gone. The mobile game space in China has been growing 2 to 3 times every year, and it's slowing down. It is still growing, and it's still huge. Chinese market represents at least 18% of the worldwide mobile gaming revenue, at least. If we're not bigger than United States, then we're going to surpass United States in terms of revenue next year. But it's very different. Chinese like different games. They play games differently. And there are a lot of different restrictions that you need to understand. So it's important, very important, that you learn what your audience want to hear or what's their pain spots? All right, so this speech is about how I can help you today. So the industry is growing very, very fast in China. So in China, it's very simple. We have 3 stages of game industry evolution. We started with online games, browser game, and then browser games, and then mobile games. Again, client-based PC online games, and then browser online games, and then mobile games. You can argue before the online games there were some solo games, but they're so tiny it didn't matter. The game industry really happened around the year 2000. So it's a very short history. Compared to West, we have over 40 years of game industry history. iDreamSky, we focus on bringing proven, successful Western games to China. We have not been successful at bringing unsuccessful games outside of China and make it successful in China. We're not magicians. So for those of you who have not so successful games, you think, how can I just make a few more bucks from Chinese market? Your efforts are really best to use on West English-speaking markets. You should make your games more successful in English-speaking markets because the art style and the regulations and just the whole value chain is so different for the Chinese market. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's a lot of work. I've joined iDreamSky about 7 months ago. Before I joined the company, now I know I really didn't know anything about the mobile industry. And I've worked 12-hour days for this whole time. And I'm now just beginning to understand a little bit about the mobile game industry in China. What I can tell you is the elites in China, they're very, very focused. They're very scientific, or as scientific as they can get. So they're big on retention rates. Next day, 7 day, 30 days, conversion rates, so on and so forth. So if you're a game developer, you're approaching a Chinese game publisher, get those numbers ready. Your ARPU, your monthly revenue. And if your game doesn't generate revenue, then you better have very high DAU. And if you don't have DAU and you don't have revenue, just don't waste your time. So these are the games that so there's Fruit Ninja, Temple Run, Subway Surfers. I'm not saying those names because they're big. We're still making a lot of money for them every day. A lot. For these companies, each one of them, we probably generate at least a third of their revenue just from China alone. A lot of people from the West saying, Fruit Ninja, they're still around? Yes, we're still making them a lot of money. And if you think about it, both Fruit Ninja and Temple Run are not games with IAP features. They don't have in-app purchase features. We put them in. So we're not a company that just takes a game and localizes it to Chinese and put it out there. I can tell you no one has been successful in doing it that way. No one, nobody. Because it just won't work. We have to make a lot of changes. We'll get into that later. So there's a lot of cost in taking a game and get them published in China. It's very expensive. I mean, you would think, why do you need to spend any money? Just put it out there. No, it will cost us a lot of money. We'll do the localization for you. Well, okay. Even if we allow you to do the localization for us, there's our opportunity cost, our relationship with what we call channels. You call them marketplaces. We put a bad game on those marketplaces and they don't perform. That hurt our chances for our future games. And we usually assign a team of 20 people on a game. We have over 20 studios in-house working on different titles at any given moment. Am I going to get some Q&A time? Or no? Can we do Q&A later? If you want to, yes. Okay, right, thanks. Okay, 2, yeah. Yes. All right, so this is the chart you're going to see anywhere. It's still growing, but the growth has slowed down this year. The growth of mobile games in China has slowed down. It is still growing, but it's not growing at crazy 2 to 3 times rate. It's slowing down. Now apps, on the other hand, just in case you want to know, it's growing at 7 to 9 times every year. Apps. So it's changing very fast, but we have different limitations. Bandwidth isn't cheap in China. There's no flat rate. like they have in Hong Kong and Taiwan. In China, every bit, every byte counts. It's taking money from me. So if your client size is, I don't know, 150 meg, most likely that would be interrupted during the download. Yeah, I visited a game developer. By the way, in China they call game developers CPs. Just in case you didn't know, content providers. So I visited a CP, and the packet size was very big for a single player casual game. But they make it online. And I said, okay, you didn't have to make it online, but you certainly cannot have a big package, download size. Well, yeah, but the decision was made 4 months ago. I said, look, you don't need to convince me. You need to convince the end users, millions of them. So it's a very cruel market. Nothing matters. Only what the end users think matters. And it's very hard to figure out what they're thinking because I'm not them. We're not them. So we like the client size to be very, very small. That's just one thing. And look at the popularity of smartphones. Smartphones has been a sort of a status symbol. And right now, if you don't have a smartphone, people think there's something wrong with you in China. They think there's something wrong with you. So iPhone 6, for example, or iPhone 6 Plus, Chinese love big phones. That's a status symbol. Whether you like it or not, that's just the way it is. Bigger the phone, that's higher status. And obviously, mobile games is hurting online games and browser game sectors. Again, we have 50 payment solutions. We don't need more. 50. So there's the iDreamSky SDK. By interfacing with our SDK, all of that will be handled. Multiple payment solutions, SNS, social network, and also different marketplaces have their own SDK. So, and also our SDK is not open to public because it's just too much work to maintain a lot of different clients. And the last one is strong ability to monetize. So again, let's review these four very quickly. Broad channel coverage. We have the broadest distribution in China. If you didn't know, Baidu, 360, or Qihoo, and Tencent, they don't like each other very, very much. So if you go with one or two channels, we call marketplaces channels, then the other guys are not, going to like you too much. So iDreamSky is owned by Tencent, 27%. They own 27% in us. And we have a close relationship with 360. And we have we control about 27% of the traffic in China. We're just too big for them to not like us. But it is still a very sensitive game that we're playing. We have to balance these channels because they all want traffic, they all want membership, and they don't want us to steal their traffic. So we balance that very well. We do this the best, and we continue to maintain our status in the Chinese game industry by bringing out hit titles with a lot of traffic. I can't tell you the games that we're bringing out, but we have a lot of big titles coming out this year. All right, so channels, payment, localization. Oh, and optimize. What's optimization? We have a team of guys from Ubisoft and other places. They focus on making your APKs very, very small and the memory footprint very small and make it work on very cheap Android phones. We have a team of people. They do nothing but to increase the compatibility and optimize the size, sometimes the speed as well. And we have good operation guys to help you monetize more. So these are some of the people that we work with. Oh yeah, we do SMS billing, meaning players can just play a game and they die in Temple Run, and then they can hit a key to instant revive, and that bill goes to their phone bill. The window doesn't have to pop up. So the how should I say, the payment experience is very smooth. It's not interrupted by pop-up windows. And a lot of times, the kids, they steal their parents' phones and they go, yeah. And the phone bill just goes crazy. That happens. We're very, very happy with that. But that's this. We call them carriers in China. The three companies, three telephone mobile carriers. And that's a very difficult experience, difficult relationship to obtain. Not every company can have SMS billing status. So these are payment. Okay, so as you can see, this is Subway Surfer. On my way to here on the flight, I saw kids playing this game on the iPad. So the Chinese version is very different, as you can tell. That's like Chinese New Year, pocket money, and we have the Monkey King, and we have just basically local flavors in the game. The frequent updates is a key thing. If the game is not updated frequently, the channels will bump it down from the list. So we have to at least update it once a month, at least, sometimes more. So all of the games I've mentioned to you, we have to get the source code for those games because the team is on site in Shenzhen. We're based in Shenzhen. And the team can actually turn around and generate a new version in 2 to 3 days. If there's a bug, we can address it in 2 to 3 hours. So if you're in Hong Kong or Beijing or any other country, it'll be difficult to do that. So a lot of content providers, they're not really comfortable with that. Well, giving source code to Chinese. Well, we have those companies that we mentioned. They basically sit back and they do nothing, and they get fat checks every month. They're happy with us. They actually still have the approval rights for everything that we do. Every change that we put in the game, we have to get their approval. So these are, Baidu has like a BBS, and we created a special version in the game so that Baidu BBS people can actually, how should I say, it's easier for them to check out the game, and in the game, it's easier for them to post messages to the BBS. So sometimes we create special versions for different channels. And that's for the Chinese New Year. All of our Chinese New Year versions, the plans were submitted in October, and around December, they're all pretty much done. And Chinese New Year is about sometimes in February, middle of February. That's all I have. Thanks.
That was good timing. You have 2 minutes for the Q&A. Anyone has questions? Questions? Yeah. Okay. I guess you give a very, very deep insight PowerPoints. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I probably scare you off from wanting to try. If your games are doing well outside of China, then please come and talk to me. There's specific genres of games that we were looking for. Elimination games, or people call it match 3. We're looking for those games. We're looking for tower of defense games. We're looking for shooting games. So those are exceptions. Otherwise, we look at grossing very, very closely. We want to bring successful games to China. And find me. I'll be here the rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.